Fox News alert now. We are just getting word that President Biden will be having a phone call tomorrow with Russian President Vladimir Putin. They will speak tomorrow. This after we are told, and this is confirmed via the NSC, that Russia proposed a call on Monday. The United States counter-proposed that this call take place on Saturday. You do know, of course, that President Biden left for Camp David just a short time ago, so one can assume the phone call will take place while President Biden is at Camp David. So the news is Vladimir Putin, President Biden, will be holding a phone call tomorrow after Russia initially wanted it on Monday. The U.S. pressured to move it up, and that is what will be happening. The read from retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Danny Davis now. Colonel, thank you for joining us. What does it tell you that this phone call will now take place tomorrow?
Yeah, this tells you that we are absolutely in the 11th hour. And even more than this phone call, the U.S. officials have been now openly calling for all U.S. citizens in Ukraine, not just embassy staff, to leave within 24 to 48 hours. We're starting to withdraw the U.S. troops that we have in the western part of the country. Other nations are pulling their people out. Everything on the ground shows you that something is about to happen and that we have a pretty high confidence level that it is. And this is probably Biden's last chance to try to negotiate this or to solve it with negotiations instead of letting Ukraine get carved up, which it looks like it's about to happen.
Some have suggested, based on the show of force Putin is showing on the border there, that it's too late for diplomacy. But does the fact that this phone call is taking place and that Vladimir Putin is actually going to take the call with President Biden suggest there is room for optimism that the U.S. could de-escalate the situation?
Absolutely, it does. And look, here, there's a couple of hard truths that have to be accepted here by President Biden and really everybody in the West. And that is, number one, we just got to acknowledge Ukraine is never going to come into NATO. We don't want them into NATO. It would be bad for the alliance. And all it would do is raise the prospect for war for all of us on a perpetual basis. That is the worst thing we want. Concurrently, Putin has shown since 2008 he is willing to use limited military force to prevent his border from being hosting a NATO country. And he has now shown very graphically he's willing to do the same thing here in 2022. So what that should tell President Biden is, look, just acknowledge reality. Ukraine's not coming in, so let's don't hold a staunch position that the door will remain open when we know that that's likely to be Putin's last chance to go ahead and invade. Let's take that off the table so it dramatically lowers the chance that Putin may want to, because it sounds like that Putin's still willing to not go into a wartime situation if he can accomplish his objectives with diplomacy.
In order to talk him down from this, we have to understand why he's doing it, why he's lining up that show of force on the border, why he's not saying this, in fact, will not happen and move those troops and tanks away from the border. Why do you suppose it's gotten to this point? As you just pointed out, you believe this phone call that we just reported indicates that this has entered the 11th hour.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any suspicion or guesswork involved here. Putin has been extremely clear, and all the Russian leaders have been very, very vocal about saying we will not stand by and allow NATO to come right up to our border. And look, everybody in the United States could understand that. We would be doing the same thing if Russia or China was going to have some kind of military alliance with Mexico, for example. There's no way we would accept that. And it's not reasonable for us to expect that Russia would have a different reaction. The fact is, we don't need Ukraine in NATO for our security. This has nothing to do with our security, and we should not press this issue when we're probably going to lose.
All right, and we will be covering every minute of it with that phone call taking place tomorrow between the two world leaders. Colonel, as usual, appreciate your time, sir. Thank you.
Always my pleasure. Thanks.
Okay.